ability to deliver measurable outcomes across education, health, gender inclusion, and community resilience stands at the cusp of becoming the game changer for CSR. Yet, with only 1.5% of CSR funds currently into sports, the potential far outweighs the investment. Through this roundtable, we aim to spark a dialogue for change, to embed sports in CSR policies, action plans, and to align with national priorities like Fit India, Khelo India, and Viksit Bharat 2047, and to co-create a roadmap for greater impact. We are delighted to have leaders from the government, corporates, foundations, and the sporting ecosystem with us today. On behalf of SVF and Lakshya, I welcome each one of you, and I look forward to a day of meaningful deliberations and bold ideas. At this point, it is my pleasure to welcome a visionary who has played a key role in shaping India's CSR journey, Mr. Nikhil Pant, the CEO of Richa and founder of Lakshya. With over 2 decades of leadership in CSR and impact, he brings both policy expertise and on-ground experience. But beyond that, he's a true sports enthusiast, a fan of every kind of sport, and a strong advocate for making fitness and sport a way of life. Nikhil sir, please, if you can come here.
Only for the starters, and then once the roundtable starts, we can come back here. Thank you so much, Harleen. A very good morning to everyone. Thank you to Parminder and team, the Sports Village Foundation, and all the corporates here, various sports administrators, the NGOs who are implementing CSR programs in sports, and overall. So the whole idea that we discussed, and this was a lot of brainstorming that the Lakshya team did and the Lakshya team, we have Mudit is here, Surbhi is here, Harleen is here. We kind of brainstormed to think as to what should we do and discuss in this kind of a roundtable, where it is not like a conference. You would see that we have kind of prepared a situation where, and we've got some tennis balls also for all of you, so that we have some sports thought in our mind. And during the health break, we'll do some catch also, and hope you don't drop catches, because if you drop catches, you don't win matches. And I am trying to also convey here this thing metaphorically that if we want more funds in CSR, we need to know how to catch the funds. So let's learn how to catch the ball, and then we can catch the funds also. Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee, sir, will be joining us very soon. He is the main person who initiated CSR in the country, and I was very fortunate to be part of his team at the Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs from 2012 to 2017. The CSR law, as it were, Section 135 of the Companies Act was made part of the New Companies Act, or the amended Companies Act, which came into play. The Act cleared Parliament and the Presidential Assent around September, October of 2013. And from 1st of April 2014, CSR, which was one of the sections in this entire legislation, Section 135, it got activated from 1st of April 2014. And today we are on 2025. So more than a decade has passed. We have all the data to read from the government website. And if you see the investment in sports as a percentage of the total investment is very, very less. And I think, Parminder, it's about 2%, roundabout. So as of 23-24, from the ministry data, we see that about almost touching 35,000 crores was spent through CSR, through about 29,000 companies, 27,000, around 28,000 companies. So there are few companies who are doing a lot of investment, and we have some of them here whom Parminder has invited. And I thought that with Dr. Chatterjee coming in, and I would have liked him to also hear what I'm saying, but doesn't matter. I keep communicating with him separately. I briefed him yesterday as well. That, sir, how can we discuss here in a closed room over the next 1 hour, 2 hours, what policy changes need to be brought so that more investment can happen in CSR? One more as a vertical by itself, where the 2% can increase. And the second is as a horizontal. Can we embed it into more of the thematics? So one is the embedding. So this is going to be a very, very strategic next 2 to 3 hours. And we would want each one of you to be very focused, make your notes, think through, Dr. Chatterjee, in the dialogue that we will have with Parminder, Dr. Chatterjee and myself, we will start that once sir is here. We will have some very, very important questions to ask him, and I would want each one of you to participate in that dialogue. So we've called it a fireside dialogue. If you see in the agenda which is in front of you, it is called a fireside dialogue, where we have posed some questions for discussion, which should trigger your thought process also to ask the relevant questions with Dr. Chatterjee around. Now, why I am saying Dr. Chatterjee for sure is that because he created the CSR policy framework basis which 35,000 crores is being spent on CSR today, out of which only 2% is sports. So if we want this 2% to go more as a thematic vertical and to add on as a horizontal, as getting embedded into learning of science and whatever. So I'll just give an example. Ishita, can you just throw that tennis ball to me? And I hopefully will not drop the catch. If you throw it correctly, thank you. So as a school teacher, I used to teach children how to catch the ball. And I told Parminder that let's get something at the table because we want people to think in a very creative way. And I remember that girls in my class, I used to teach maths. And though I'm an engineer, I left my job, I became a school teacher in Manav Bharati, Panchsheel Park. And during the lunch break, I would take the children, even during my maths class, I would take the boys and the girls. Invariably, the boys would catch the ball in a better way, I felt. And the girls would try to catch it like this, just banging it like this. Initially, I felt. Slowly, I told them that if you catch the ball by breaking the momentum, just try doing it like this. Slowly, they picked it up. And what I did was, as a teacher, I told them that this is mass and there is a bit of velocity. You are reading momentum in your class, in the physics class that I'm teaching you, mass into velocity. This is into play. So the moment the child's learning is related to a physical activity like sport, there is better understanding of maths also. So this is the horizontal that I'm talking about. If you can do more of this into pedagogy, into better teaching of maths and science, we're talking about NEP 2020 today. New textbooks have come out from NCERT. How can we brainstorm here to bring more ideas in this horizontal? And on the vertical also, can this 2% go up? So when I say sports as a funding, it's a permitted CSR activity. You can have funds allocated to sports and reported under sports. So we were discussing with Parminder and team, can the reporting format also be made in such a way, and that will be part of the policy discussion, that when I'm reporting as a funder in sports, and if I'm showing that I'm spending more on sports, can that become like an aspirational thing? We have to move towards that direction, and that is where such conversations have to move towards a game-changing role of sports for CSR. Also remember, we are talking a lot about measurement, we are talking a lot about impact. And amongst all the thematics in CSR, there are 13 of them, health, education, and one of them being sports. Sports perhaps is the most precise that can be measured. If you see, if there's a 100 meters dash, you measure it to the 10th or the 100th of a second. So if I'm talking about measurement, nothing is measured better. Manu is also here, we keep engaging at the HCL Foundation. So when I'm talking about measurement and I'm talking about impact, sports is the most measurable activity. High jump, how much can you jump? You cannot say, I will jump around 4 feet. No, it will be 4 feet and how many inches will be the exact, because the bar will fall down otherwise. So can there be learnings where we can embed this into the larger narrative of CSR and bring in some recommendations out of this conversation? So the end goal of today, which I want to summarize as I end my initial conversation, is that the key outcome of today has to be that we apply our brains to come out with some policy recommendations that we can think can be then presented to the ministry, to the IICA, to corporate donors in various forums that start looking at sports in a slightly different manner as well. And I am also going to use the term disruptive, because we use the word disruption in business a lot. So Ola disrupted, and then you have mobility. Easily you can book a cab. Can we look at ways to therefore enhance this 2% as a vertical and also more as a horizontal? And also, when you're spending it as a horizontal, can that also be added to show that you're investing in sports? A lot of the corporates are investing, but showing it as education or skill development or whatever. Because if that kitty increases, and if I'm a decision maker in a corporate at a policy level, at a CSR committee level, and I see that sports also has a big chunk into the game, I may want to give more funds to sports in my program. अभी वो बोलता है 2% ही, तो बोले this seems to be an insignificant thing. So this group should also brainstorm that, and the various sports administrators who are here from various organizations, we would welcome them to think through all of this as the dialogue happens. So after that, we have a health break. So 1.5 hours is a conversation with Dr. Chatterjee, Parminder and myself, where we will trigger these conversations and you will make notes and we will have conversations. You can talk to all of us, we can talk to each other. I will facilitate that. Then we have a small health break of 15 minutes. I'll do some yoga asanas with you and we can do some catch also across the table. I hope it is permitted now. They've got CCTV here. We will not break any rules because sports is also about being very rule oriented. In fact, very important in sports is rules. And so is in CSR. We're talking about compliance. So when I say sports, and again, yesterday I was watching cricket match again, if you bowl a no ball, it is non-compliance. And if you get the wicket, it is impact. So I keep teaching a lot of people in my classes. If you look at Glenn McGrath, and I used to follow some of these people, 6 out of 6, they would put a coin on the pitch and he would hit the coin and the ball will go where he controls it. So that is his impact. But when he's running to bowl, he cannot think, I should not bowl a no ball, I should not bowl a no ball. Because he will then bowl a no ball. Because that comes through practice. So compliance comes through practice. And if your compliance is part of practice, then your focus is on impact. Then the focus is on getting the wicket. That's the message that sports gives all of us for CSR. Can we think like this and then come out with those recommendations to take CSR at a more bigger policy level going forward? And we'll do a series of these roundtables with Parminder and team over the next 6 months. And we hope to then go to the ministry, go to the sports ministry, go to the IICA, go to more corporates and say that this needs to change. We are talking about India being a sporting nation also. We are talking about hosting the Olympics, I believe, in the 2030s, I think somewhere we are talking about. And we definitely, therefore, should be in a position that if we host the Olympics, then we should be big medal winners by that time. But sports should not just be about the medals. Please, let's understand that. So there is a journey and there is a destination. So the journey is perhaps more important than the destination. And the journey is the practice and the destination is the winning of the medal. So we have to also teach children at the grassroots that playing sports is about the process. It is about discipline. It is about the daily grind. And somewhere if you connect it with CSR, you will find that CSR talks about sustainability, CSR talks about compliance, about impact, about branding. All of that can be enhanced through more strategic investment in sports. So thank you all very much. After this session, we have the health break. If you see the agenda, we have a 45-minute conversation where Surbhi, my colleague, will be then moderating that session with you all. And the conversation there would be that each one of you gets an opportunity to put your point of view, which in a more structured way, which can then be documented. So my request to all of you would be that please be very focused as we start the conversations, mobile phones, silent, off, turn around, and focus so that we don't bowl a no ball and we get the wicket. Thank you all once again for coming, and we hope we have a good outcome out of this session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for getting all of us excited to what lies ahead today. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my privilege to invite on stage Colonel N.S. Johal. Sir serves as the Chief Executive Officer of the Target Olympic Podium Scheme under the Sports Authority of India and the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. A former athlete himself, Colonel Johal brings a unique blend of on-ground sporting experience and visionary leadership. Under his guidance, the TOPS has been instrumental in supporting India's elite athletes in their pursuit of Olympic glory by streamlining processes, fostering transparency, and ensuring that critical resources for training and development reach them efficiently. Please join me in welcoming Colonel N.S. Johal to share his keynote address with us. Please, sir.
No, I'll just put a timer so that I don't get emotional and continue. So I've been given 15 times, 15 minutes. I'll try to finish before that. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my proud privilege to be here in this August gathering. And thank you, Parminderji, for giving me a chance to share my thoughts. You all are aware about the CSR, as Nikhil covered. It came into being in 2013. There are various activities, some figures have already been mentioned, but I just want to highlight one important aspect. As per the 2% cap, the total CSR contribution is supposed to be about 19,000, some 980 CR, but the actual is about 30,000 CR. So the corporates are already doing more than what they are mandated to do. So that is a very positive thing. But as we know, we need to do much more. And there are various heads listed, the total 8 of them under the Schedule 7, Section 135. And I have been actually in the last 11 months, CSR is actually my topic. I am the face of the ministry and SAI for, liaison, and as well as, taking the project further with ministry, as well with the PSUs, as well as the corporates. So I have been giving lectures whenever we have the conclave. So I'm, I have quite a well-researched knowledge on the topic. And I personally feel that out of those 8 subheads, 4 are interlinked. And as Nikhil also mentioned, education. On education and skill, our spend is almost about 13,000 plus crores. But on sports, it's only 560 something. And but that's also, I wanted to say, I mean, I'm not going to touch into the nitty-gritties because you all are subject experts. But I just want to, share my my thoughts from my own experience. I have studied in a boarding school, and luckily I was good in academics also, but I am a die-hard sports person. I play everything. Any game you name, I am very competent at NDA, all teams, and luckily, I also topped the academy. I'm sort of honor of my course. So academically also okay. But then, as I joined within for 6 months, I got a chance to choose army career or a shot at sports. So I again left everything and came into sports, and then I represented India in 2000 Beijing Olympics also. So I'm all about sports. And I really liked the way Nikhil was telling, comparing. That is what I also do. You give me any topic, I can integrate sport into it. And I can teach you, this is what's happening there. This is in corporate life. This is in school. This is when you're grown up. Family decision, dispute resolution, anything. Sports teaches all. One very important thing which I want to highlight, is sports. What for the purpose of CSR, especially at grassroots level, it is not preparing Olympic medalists. It is about getting every kid to play. If they play, they are fit, they are alert, and most important, I'm a Sikh, so, and a bit of religious bent of mind also. We have langar, and the langar, one of the very purpose of starting the langar, by our gurus, was to put everybody at the same level. So whosoever you may be, you sit at the same place. Everybody is on the same ground at same level. They are served the same thing in the same types of utensils. That is what sports also is. So whatever is going on when we grow up and we get influenced, and the reels are making a lot of impact, short-term impact, for not so desirable outcomes most of the times. But if at grassroots, sports, you people contribute and, make it big, we teach kids equality, inclusion, fairness, discipline. I mean, I can go on and on and on, teamwork, you name it. But for me, the biggest is there is no other criteria when you're on the field. For that matter, in some sports, there is no gender bias also. For me, that is the biggest takeaway of sports at grassroots level to a good society. Of course, fitness, and if you're fit, we don't spend on the, subsequently the medical bill will not be so much and all those things. But for me personally, I think this is the biggest takeaway. People become competitive, they learn respect, they become friends. And actually, I have friends even till today, they are not from my school, but we used to meet during the competitions, and we have still kept in touch and good friends. So all these things come from the initiatives which you support. So that is why CSR at grassroots is very, very, very important. And also, but there is a little bit of, I have been almost 11 months into the job now. I find one disjoint. While grassroots is okay, but everybody wants to produce a national champion. In between, they go stray. There is not supposed to be any branding for CSR, but you also mentioned. But so I think, we used to have this, we still have a system of Guptan. You just put it in the, donation box and don't look back. But then in between has come that we would put up plates, even at Golden Temple also we see, but then there are a lot of people, I will not name any other, I will, other places, but why should, if you're donating, why should we be looking at coming that news? Okay, it may be motivation to the others, that is also a factor, but more so, just let it go. You have 98% of the other profit to do everything else. This 2%, there should be no branding budget in this. Officially is not there, unofficially, it gets added. So this is one, and whatever grassroots efforts you do for at excellence level also, you all are aware we have just Khelo Bharat Niti 2025. It talks about everything. There are 5 pillars, and education and inclusion, all these, even economic empowerment, by manufacturing, all that has been, it's a very beautiful document. And now the onus is on ministry and, people like me to implement, make sure that it is implemented and it has the desired effect with which it has been brought in. Next is, you all are aware, National Sports Governance Bill. In the end, one of the, what should I say, hesitation with the corporates to put money in sports or to sports federation is transparency and accountability. So the bill sets it right, hopefully, maybe 2 years down the line. Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. I'm Colonel Johal, CEO Top, sir. And so what I was saying was, the governance will also get, sorted out. Transparency will be there in the system. So that is also an encouragement for more and more corporates to contribute more and more to the sports. And it is your choice, but now I will make a pitch since I'm from TOPS. We have something called National Sports Development Fund. And it was established in 1998. And we have already we have big donors also. National Sports Fund, primarily in SAI, we have money invested into sports, or Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, in 2 ways. One is ANSF scheme, Assistance to National Sports Federation scheme. This is, this is the biggest budget with which we support all the federations, and then subsequently all the, conduct of the nationals, youth nationals, junior nationals, camps, whatever you may. So our federations activities for that whole year in the country, I mean, the national federations have state association, the state bodies have got their district associations. So like that, we reach every part of the country is through ANSF scheme. There is another fund which is called, and this is the allocation from the budget itself. Second is National Sports Development Fund, which is primarily on contributions by the corporates and the PSUs. So while you spend on grassroots, but in the end, of course, we are looking at 2047 Viksit Bharat, 2030 Commonwealth Games 2036, hosting Olympics. So we are also preparing. We are aligning, our efforts in a direction. We are again prioritized. A lot of thought is going on. We have been having a lot of conferences. We have made a lot of committees to have the experts from the, public sector, public life into the system, so that, and they have given very good recommendations. So we are all compiling that. So, but in the end, nutshell, I want to say is that even ministry also, this is a fund which is not linked to the federations. This is for development. And ministry through SAI is an agency which reaches every corner. Each corporate may have a very, their area of influence or operation, but as SAI, we reach the entire country. So I would request everybody that everybody, while you have your own priorities, maybe a very modest contribution, from 27,000 will give us a very considerable fund, which we will use for the excellence purposes, and also creation of infrastructure, maintenance of infrastructure. So that is what, and I will just, end a little early to bring the proceedings back on time. Thank you so much.
I think let's go to the next round now. So thank you so much, Colonel Viksit Bharat has also joined us. I will do a quick introduction of Sir, first of all, and also give you a quick background for the brief view. So the whole sense of this roundtable is to get all of us to brainstorm and to see how we can have a bigger bite for sports within CSR. And why we wanted you to be here, and really grateful that you are here, is just that since you are the one who created the entire CSR policy framework for the country, and sports is a subset, one of the permitted activities. And here all of these people are sports lovers, somebody is an administrator, somebody is from government, like Colonel from SAI, TOPS, and we have corporates, we have some lawyers, Renu is there. So the end goal of the session here today, and that's where we get into a dialogue, sir, with you and Parminder, who heads the Sports Village Foundation. Parminder and I got together to do kind of this through our teams from Lakshya and Sports Village Foundation. That can we do a series of these roundtables, and can we see and can we get into some situation where we can go to the ministry with some recommendations, sir, with your guidance? Like you did the CSR rules, I remember, sir, when we were at IISc. Can we increase the bite of sports as a subset to CSR because of the fact that sports is so integral to everybody's life? Like anything, and as very rightly Colonel just mentioned, that you can give such wonderful analogies and examples of sports with our life, solving problems and challenges and whatever. So over the next 40-45 minutes, 1 hour, I will engage into a conversation with you and Parminder, and the idea is that everybody here gets into a dialogue with us. They all make their notes, and subsequent to that, then Surbi will be moderating a session with all of them to then get their inputs, and then at the end of it, we want to just compile and make a note, which we will share with you also for your guidance, and then we want to take it up to the Ministry of Sports and maybe to the MCA as well. Maybe not to say that to tell corporates to put in more resources, but in what way can we increase the value of sports in the estimation of those who manage corporate social responsibility? So, sir, this is the whole purpose of the meeting, and the setting also is to kind of back it up, including the tennis balls here. So I've kept 2 extra ones, and I bought my skipping rope as well, because I've been skipping right from my childhood. I was also skipping my classes, by the way. I was also bunking my classes. So skipping is pretty integral to my life, and even now I do about 2,000 skips. But the breaks have increased. Earlier I used to do 2,000 at a go. And Sportz, I play Sportz myself, and I know personally the value of sports. And you are, and by the way, everybody, sir is a lover of sports. And the other day at that Vedanta Delhi half marathon, there was this launch, and I think some of those Kenyan runners were there, or the Indian runners were also there, and they were showcasing who are coming for the run. And I asked sir, I'm remembering 1980s, was there a competition between Sebastian Coe and Steve Cram? We said no, it was not Steve Cram, because he came much later. It was between Sebastian Coe and Steve Hobbit, and the timings were this. So this is Dr. Chatterjee, and if you remember the timing, so this is impact. And we're talking about CSR and impact today, so nothing better than you, sir. So initially, sir, would you just like to say a few lines and then I'll get into a conversation just to kind of also tell the audience here as to how you launched the CSR mandate, maybe just 5 minutes, sir, and then we'll get into a kind of a dialogue. No, sir. Very long, very long. Thank you, Viksit, for that. I'm really happy to be here today. Sports is very, very close to my heart. So, how can we make sports more effective? CSR ecosystem would be something that we now do. But just to mention to all of you, sadly, when we were drafting Schedule 7, which really are the activities that we can undertake, how many words on sports do you find in Schedule 7? Not 50. How many words on sports do you find in Schedule 7? The only person who is not allowed to speak is me. So we chose those words also very carefully because in a gathering like this, when we mentioned the word sports, everybody said, sir, the better, the more well-known sports are already served very well. Do you want CSR to fund the ICC? Do you want it to serve T20 cricket? Do you want CSR money to be used for the cricket circus that goes across India, but in the Middle East and the world? Cricket is already very well funded. Do you want to fund it for football or for hockey, which again already draw a very large amount of funding because for obvious reasons they're well paid and corporates will find it easy to sponsor them. So the dilemma was, what should we put into Schedule 7? And in the beginning, we used only two words, rural sports. That's it. There are only two words there. Subsequently, of course, we have expanded it to say that training for even international sports and other things can also be used for CSR. But I think we still do a great bit of disservice to sports because we have not enhanced it. So when we go around, for example, I was in the Vedanta Foundation and we built a huge cricket stadium in Jaipur. Basically, we are contributing to sports infrastructure, but we had to show it in CSR as contributing to rural sports because the idea was to catch use the catchment area for all over Rajasthan to get the poorer sections of society who are underfunded, don't have sports facilities, to get training in that sports academy, in that sports stadium. But that same sports stadium will also host many national and international matches. The fact remains that when you create a facility, just creating it for poor children to come and play doesn't make it commercially viable. If it doesn't be commercially viable, how then, you build it once out of CSR funds, then what? Who maintains it? And you cannot charge user fees from poor children. So how do you sustain an infrastructure which you have created? It will just lie like an ivory tower and just disintegrate. So there are several challenges to addressing sports through CSR. When you have something already, for example, Tata Academy, we use a lot of CSR funds for training rural youth.
So whether it is hockey or football or gymnastics or whatever, they give a lot of sports scholarships, which enable poorer children to come and use the fantastic facilities that they have already created. Their model is the structure itself is created by funds other than CSR. But all the people who use the facility get scholarships to use it. And then they use that same facility for bigger sports events, etc., so that they can fund the maintenance of that infrastructure. So this I was about to say later, because we go around the table, we'll get more ideas. We try to use what we might call hybrid funding. But I'll stop here. Let me also understand more where each one is coming from, what your views and thoughts are, and then we'll do a sort of thing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, so much for giving a general kind of a background. And I was very keen that all of us get glued into understanding what was the thought process also when the legislation was rolled out. Because if we know the intent and the aadhar over there, then from wherever we are coming and the questions we have and the doubts we have and the suggestions that we have will maybe be more mindful. So to get started, Parminder, let me introduce her and everybody. He is one of the co-founders of the Sports Village Foundation, and I think they are doing some amazing work. And we both connected at the HCL Foundation, courtesy Manu, who was here from Nidhi's team. And being sports lovers, whenever we would meet at the HCL partners meet and we would get into a conversation that something has to be done for sports, he was very keen. And so this year I said we'll connect and we'll start working together. And if Lakshay connects with Sports Village Foundation, we would want to do something which brings about a new thought into the whole game. And how can we, do something which strengthens the entire sports ecosystem, not just for CSR but overall, because it's a fitness thing as well. It's about health as well. So the time is this is 10:50, so we have till about 12 o'clock service here. So maybe for an hour, maybe we will do this conversation. And as I put up questions to you, Parminder, and to Dr. Chatterjee, I would request all of you to participate as well, because this is not just like a monologue or not even a dialogue or a trilogue. It has to be a multi-logue, because we want funds also from all sources, and more resources and more ideas. And I somehow always believe that whatever time we have, if we use it strategically, then we have maximum output also. But that strategic investment of time has to be very mindful, and therefore all focus. And I gave them an example, sir, when you were not here. The analogies, for example, that one is that when I was teaching and the girls would catch the ball like this, and then I told them that if you break the momentum, and this is mass and there is a velocity, and the Aussies will catch it like this. So there's a bit of culture also into it. And the Aussies would not drop that many catches, and Steve Waugh and those people were with Steve Buchanan as their coach. The other thing also that I told about compliance and impact, sir, was that if you watched the way Glenn McGrath trained, he would put a coin on the pitch, and then 6 out of 6 the ball would hit the coin and maybe then hit the wickets or whatever. But when he would train in such a way that he wouldn't bowl a no ball. Because if you bowl a no ball, it is non-compliance. And if you hit the wicket, it is impact. So if you want to achieve impact, then compliance is to be part of habit and practice. So when he's practicing that in 22 runs, I will not bowl a no ball, then his entire focus is on getting the wicket. And that's what CSR, I think, should learn from sports, I feel, so that nothing teaches us more to achieve impact than sports. And therefore, why not increase that bite of sports in the way we think about CSR? It is maybe not just about funding. It is about the way we look at impact and the way we look at measurement. So Parminder, let me first begin by asking you, so Parminder has also shared some points which he also faces when he is interacting with a lot of sports administrators, with a lot of funders. And his first question was, why do you think CSR can be a game changer when it comes to scaling sports in CSR? So, sir, do you feel, let me first ask you maybe first, Parminder, and why you also put up this question and what is the thought behind it, and nothing better than sir over here to kind of give us an answer, and he'll be very blunt in telling you also that this is not possible. Eh? So let's not hope for good answers, but we should hope to learn from what sir says and go back with truth in our hand and then work through with it to get to the best possible. So the first point that he raised was, why do we think that can sports be a game changer for CSR? Maybe. So what is your thought on this? There are somebody who implements sports through a lot of, in fact, sir, his team has developed a lot of intellectual properties on designing measurements of sports and how in physical education classes in schools you can see, and typically I remember the physical education period. I remember when I was in Namatinja Lucknow so many years ago, that used to be generally the most non-serious period. You know, people would just do anything. So over to you, Parminder. We'll take it forward from there.
Thank you, Nikhil. Morning. Thank you, sir, for. So I think anyway, those are my questions. Nikhil is posing back to me. But
I would like to just give it last
Yeah.
sense also.
yeah. So why CSR can be a game changer? My first, I mean, the genesis was why not? Why not should be a game changer? And I like the term game changer, Nikhil, which I think you mentioned somewhere, because
That again is Sir's term, and I've been copying like mad with whatever, you know, because he was the guru and we were the students, and so kind of non-stop copying of.
when it has a literal and metaphorical meaning.
Yeah, because we're dealing with sports also here.
As a game changer. So I felt it was apt, and one unique thing common to all participants is somewhere sport is common to either we fund or we talk about it or spend substantial time thinking about it. There are funders, HCL, SEO, HCL technology again, there are sports administrators, which Joel is here, AFF is here, will be, and sports experts. Suhail is here, Renu is here in the audience, CIA is here, they have a represent sports part of that. So I think all of us have the same question around, can CSR be a game changer? Now, clearly there are some answers we have from a practice standpoint. What have we been doing on ground, whether it is integrating sport into the core education process that we have done. Sudhir is here, maybe talk more about education process as such, but from a policy lens, and you started with that thought, in terms of, I mean, what struck me was mixed model thing that you mentioned, which is very, very important, because one needs to have a policy view around it, that you fund something and there has to be something which has to make it sustainable. You cannot keep funding it until cows come home. So how do we find the right balance over there? And if we find the right balance, right, that's one question most of the funders that work with also ask us, how can we make it sustainable? After we make the initial investments of 3 to 5 years, 6 years, how do you make it sustainable after that? So clearly, I'm not saying if we answer that, would we have found solved the puzzle, or perhaps it's one of the things which make the whole thing work. But that's an important point which I thought I'd just double click on that while I was listening to you, sir.
So good point. So what he's trying to say, sir, and I know that it was I'm supposed to be kind of doing this, but I wanted to first also him to explain. His question primarily, sir, is this: that can we also, just as CSR is a game changer for nation building, can sports be a game changer for CSR, sir, as a subset? And where can we do that thinking to make any policy intervention, keeping in mind what you said, sir, in the very beginning, that it is not just those sports, sir, which are well funded. There is so much that's happening at the grassroots level, and now the way India is growing, plus a lot of health concerns I would also like to add over here. So when we say about game changer, it is also game changer for a fitter India, for a healthier India, for an India where children play sports to do better maths and science, children play sports to be more healthy. So can sports be a game changer for CSR, keeping these things also in mind? Maybe, sir, when you began at that point, the thoughts were different, but now the ground, after COVID also, sir, a lot of comorbidities are surfacing, if you see. And sports somewhere seems to be having those elements which can make us maybe more healthier, maybe more alert, maybe more good in education. So Just as a dialogue, sir, it could be either ways, but what are your thoughts on this?
No, let me go around the table.
Okay, fine. Let's first take inputs from.
Anything else?
No, no, there are, so this, for this particular question, anything else?
Go around the table.
So your thoughts, Colonel, on
Don't feel constrained by the question. Just say what you have to say, then I get some idea of what's happening.
Real life, because Colonel has already spoken. So everybody's got to be alert, so keep feeling the ball, don't go to sleep. And you have to keep answering and saying, Renu. You can just,
So yes, I agree with this. Like CSR, if CSR policies are better supporting sports, it can be a game changer for us in any way. As lawyers, we are working in community-based development program, and we are using sports as a tool for development rather than excellence. So we are focusing in terms of development programs in India and specifically in Delhi. So we use sports more
Laureus, the international one. The sports or what? No, but just a little bit about
Give us a
yourself.
little bit of your background. What does Lawyers do? What company you represent? What
Okay.
organization?
So yes, Lawyers is a UK-based sports for good organization. Which
Sports what?
Sports for good.
Sports for good organization.
So we use sports as a development tool rather than developing athletic skills. We use sports for developing personalities, work on gender-based violence, gender equality, health, and other things. Peace building also, inclusion.
But not necessarily capacity building for sports only.
It's a part. It's not as a holistic. We are not focusing on
More
excellence
the
part.
holistic part.
Yes.
All right.
And in India, we are like running our flagship program, which is Sports for Good City, which is based
Sports for good city.
Yes, which is
One city or more than one?
it's one city. It's a place-based model.
Which city is it?
Delhi. In Delhi, we are working in Simapuri, which is a slum. And it's a place-based model where we focus on a place and we introduce sports, and with a structured curriculum, we work with children to develop the community.
Any facility there for sports?
No, we use the facilities which are already
In the
available.
slum, there are no facilities.
Yes. So we are using open spaces and nearby spaces like schools or like open spaces like parks or the district parks, those kind of spaces. Yes, it's a very tough way to work.
Facility at all.
Yes, this is the constant.
Do you find the interest of the parents interested at all or not?
After a year of intervention in Semapuri, we have 120 parents playing football with us in the ground now. And all are females.
Over time, you also do get, because parental interest is fundamental.
Yes, initially बहुत मुश्किल था बच्चों को again वही वाला बात कि sports is not that look very aspirational by everyone, especially from जहाँ पे उन्हें पैसा ज़्यादा better करता है than playing sports because they are the earning hand of their family. So to convince them to send their child for an hour to play with us in a structured curriculum was quite a tough task. But structured curriculum means like we have a curriculum where like we define the game with ball, which is football, and we prepare a field where we plan the activity according to the topic which we want to deliver, like nutrition, grooming, hygiene, gender equality.
You build all of that through the ball.
Yes,
And
through
the game.
football, yes. And there are many others, like we use volleyball also, we use frisbee also.
Thank you. Yeah, so you were just mentioning the point.
So yes, again, for like if CSR are like for me, this learning that you said like in section 7, rural sports was highlighted. So this gives me an answer why urban sports is getting lesser CSR fund than the rural part, and many CSR are moving towards the rural areas.
So that definition of rural sports itself was very confining. And there are, now in my mind as a policymaker, I'm thinking, And what is it that we can do? The Schedule 7 does not need any parliamentary intervention. Schedule 7 is something that the ministry itself can do. The officers there themselves are empowered to make changes in Schedule 7. So if we can put up the policy that how do we tweak Schedule 7? Mindful of the fact that CSR resources should not go to help the already benefited. The idea is that CSR money should be used for those who need help, not for those who are already helped. So how can that be done in Schedule 7? And I'll come to some thoughts of mine later. But thank you. This is a very good point. Why not? Why do not?
Yes.
Why rural sports?
And also,
Yeah.
and also in urban, it should be more uniform, geographically spread fund, like not specifically towards.
Bigger cities.
Yes.
Okay, I understand.
And also within city, like uniform spread of funding. Like Seema is already always neglected by higher CSR funding because it's at periphery of East Delhi, near to Ghaziabad. So lots of CSR fund do not goes to
Good
East
point.
Delhi.
Very good point. Thank you. Both of them are very good. All right, down the road.
Introduce yourself.
Introduce yourself. Give me some background of where you come from, what is your organization doing, and whatever thoughts you want to say. Don't limit yourself to the questions that we've been asking. Let me get an overall idea. Yeah, go ahead.
So my name is Anuj Gupta. I am the president of the Delhi Soccer Association, and I'm also the co-founder of a foundation which is called Sudeva. It's primarily into football, and I created a 10-acre property in Raj Niwas, which is in Civil Lines, where it's more of a center of excellence, where the children who are there, I personally travel all over the country and spot for talent, and then bring them at the age of 11 onwards, and then give them a whole residential setup, where the idea is to develop them into professional players, and then they get to play for India and so forth. Majority of the kids are coming from rural background, and I have children from 27 states. So, that's what my foundation does, and it took me more than 5 years to get my first CSR, which was I already knew that, because in all the CSR, sport has a very small budget. And in sport also, football has even lesser budget, because obviously it's not a medal hope sport. And so even in CSR, a lot of times I see that they want to fund those sports which has medal hope, because then you can show what they have achieved. And but yes, I personally feel that in CSR, we should definitely focus on the rural sides of our country, but in urban also, if we have children from rural areas, then it just becomes.
By rural sports, you actually meant also that children from rural areas. Yeah. Even if you are centered in Delhi, it doesn't matter. The kind of talent you are drawing are from all over the country. And this is also things which other football academies also do. Like other football academy also gets people and trains them at facility. This is actually, of course, one academy can't fulfill the needs of the country. Many academies have to apply. Also, when you say medal hopes, it's true and not true. The way that we've seen it is, can you get into a district team, can you make a state team, can you make a national team? Even that is aspirationally good enough for most people who offer assistance in that. Anyway, I get your point. Any last point you want to make?
No, one is about sustainability when it comes to CSR. Because when we start getting CSR, then obviously our project starts running. And after a few years, even though we show performance at a state level, at a national level, at all levels, still I'm very apprehensive about CSR companies taking that project out. Why? Because maybe it was a 5-year program or it was a 3-year program.
So CSR is not about perpetual funding. The idea is to operate a 3-year project or a 4-year project. You have to get off the ground and then you move on to other things. It's not supposed to be perpetual, right? And then of course other companies can come. One company is with you for a while, they set the benchmark, you're doing well. That itself raises your level so much that another company can come. One company will not fund you forever. Other companies can come. So it works. All right, well, thank you very much. Great perspective. Next.
Hi, so I'm Dr. Nalki Chadha. I'm a sports psychologist. So I'm an independent sports psychologist and primarily working with athletes across different age groups or different backgrounds as well. So working with, of course, athletes who are involved in independent sports, but also some organizations work with side for a short period of time. So I've had an experience to work with athletes from all different socio-economic backgrounds. And I think the common theme that I would say is CSR funding or policies can be a little more directed towards building a more emotionally or psychologically safe environment. While we are, of course, investing in the infrastructure, different facilities, I don't have the exact population in India about the dropout rate of athletes. But globally, there's about 70% of dropout rate of athletes by the age of 13 to 14 years. And it's not just because they stopped having fun in sport, but it's a lot to do with the environment that they are in. So that can be, of course, parents, coaches, overall safety concerns, especially for women athletes. So I think that's a big theme because, of course, we all are talking about not the final destination or medals, but more about participation, the process. But what does that process really look like? Can we go beyond the technical, tactical, and the physical aspect of sport and look a little more deeper into the mental health in sport? So that's where I'm coming from.
All right, got you there. Right, next.
Hi everyone, good morning. This is Manu here, and I am part of the HCL Foundation team. And we implement a program called Sportz for Change, which is a multi-sport, multi-location initiative that is run through implementing partners across India. So we have right now 13 implementing partners working dedicatedly towards sports across India. And primarily so we have a program, another program called Uday, which is working in the immediate neighborhood.
Don't skip so fast.
Oh, sorry.
You have a program
Called Sportz for Change.
Sports what?
Sportz for Change.
Sports for Change.
Yeah.
All right. And what do these implementing agencies do?
So they are our implementing partners. They are the NGOs that we support. We jointly create programs.
The HCL Foundation actually supports many NGOs, right?
Yes.
Now, every year you give a grant, a very large grant to NGOs, and they take that forward. But for these 13 implementation agencies, you use them specially and only for this one program, Sports for Change, or do they do other things also?
No, only for Sports for Change.
You identified these 13 implementing agencies for this one program.
Yes.
What is the funding for each of them amount?
So it varies. So it's not a standard grant. The
Roughly.
model that
Average?
so the annual outlay for sports would be around 15 CR.
Alright. So they get a little less than 1 crore each roughly on an average.
Yeah, depending upon the scale and other things.
Alright.
At which the partner
You
is
choose these implementing agencies how?
through an RFP process.
No, because of their background in
Yes.
sports education or in sports encouragement. What is the background of these implementing agencies?
So all are dedicated sports organizations. So Sudeva is one of them. Sports Village Foundation is another one. Then we have organizations like Slum Soccer, Matru Pratisthana based out of Bangalore, then Hope Foundation, many. So these all have dedicated programs related to sports.
And each of these function in different geographies?
Yes, across India. So around 9 different
So
cities.
this is a very comprehensive program.
They have a
Very well thought out program, thought through program.
and they have a national needs also. Manu, you can tell them about that.
So there are 3 aspects of Sports for Change initiative that we have, the program. So one is the continuous year-long support that we provide to students through these implementing agencies. Second,
So these implementing agencies, how do they choose their students or whatever participants?
so we jointly co-create the program together for the government schools and the
These are
communities.
targeted at government schools particularly?
Yes,
So you locate government schools and ask the implementing agencies to work through government schools.
correct.
That's how you reach the poorer sections of society.
Yes. So we work with exclusively government schools as well as communities in the urban areas.
All right. Just the way Renu is also.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So communities in urban areas. Okay. And your funding is for what period of time?
So it's a year-long contract that we have with the NGOs, and then it gets renewed based on the performance.
All right. Very nice program. What's the other program you're talking about?
Then, under the Sports for Change only, we have another thing that is called Sports for Change competition, which is an open competition, which begins right at district levels across all the locations where HCF Foundation has a presence through any of the program. Because HCF Foundation implements a lot of programs in other domains as well, apart from sports.
Of course. Right.
So,
the
across
competition is open to all of these people who participate in the HCL program.
yes, any student or any NGO who is working with HCL Foundation can bring the government school kids to that program. So this year, if I talk about the 7th edition that we did, just completed a couple of months back, we reached out to 12,256 kids across 45 districts of India in 15 sports. And from there,
where was the competition organized?
So this begins at district level. Then we have the we did 9 state competitions. Then we did 3 zonal competitions, and then we did the national finals.
All right. And typically, whoever wins is a school or a participant?
Participant. So after the district level, there is these are all the match officials are all from respective district or state federations, and they are the ones who scout the talent. And then the location level teams are formed, which undergo 15-day residential or 20-day residential camp before they come for the next level. The similar model that is called.
If you're already using CSR funds for this, you don't need any CSR funding, right?
No.
You are actually the funders.
Yes.
Right, because you're already doing it for implementing agencies.
Yes.
And your programs are run in such a way that you can identify talent at various levels, right? Okay, very nice, excellent.
And the third part of it is the sports scholarships.
Yeah.
So
we
worked around till now with around 77,000 students across the country through sports, and we've identified 192 of the most promising students as annual sports scholarship, which is through the HCL Tech Employee Payroll Giving initiative that we have. It is beyond the CSR budget.
Okay. And these are across how many sports?
Depending upon the talent, sir. We don't restrict it to any number of sports at that time.
Excellent. Very well done. All right. Next.
Morning, Dr. Chatterjee. My name is Poonam Deshmukh from CSR. I head the sports vertical and work with Mr. Sunil Mishra.
Whom I know extremely well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the vertical is a side of the foundation which Mr. Mishra, heads. What we're trying to now do in the vertical itself is that we have two arms, because being an industry association, we have to engage with the corporates as well. That is something that's bread and butter for us, right? So we do engage in forming some kind of IPs around engaging the corporates like cricket and badminton, where the larger engagement can be done. But aside of that, now since Mr. Mishra moved in, and he was handling the foundation, our focus is also moved to the rural, for the rural intervention. Now, in the rural intervention, what we intend to do is, like what HCL Foundation is already doing, is supporting many of the NGOs and individuals who are supporting sports at many levels. CII also intends to do that, because we at the foundation is also getting a many such requests for very minuscule amount of support, which could be ranging from anything from 2 lakhs to 5 to 10 to 15. So we thought that, see, as an industry association, there are many industries which are there. We have 9,000 plus industry members. Why not kind of get them engaged in a conversation where they can actually, with limited amount, they can actually support the ecosystem within the country, and it could be any part of the country. Normally what we see is that sports is, the engagement in sports is by industries only done where they have their own facility, right? But they say, for example, if it is, say, Tata, Jamshedpur, or Tata, wherever it is, predominantly there. But they would not probably look at, say, maybe Kashmir, they would not probably look at Kerala, or, vice versa, whichever areas that they are wanting to see. So we said that let's try and get such proposals from these organizations and put it across to a form a committee of these members, and at least through our national reach that we have through our zonal state offices and regional offices, reach out to these industry members and propose this to them and give them avenues which they can actually leverage. And especially, talking about sports as a subject.
So this foundation, it receives monies from your constituents,
Yeah, so the foundation right now is not mandated to actually take money for sports. That's not one of the mandates which is there in CI Foundation. We are working for climate change, as you're aware, right? We are working for women empowerment, education, early education. We work with Anganwadis. We also look at healthcare. But sports has not been mandated in our own foundation as of now. But we wanted to kind of understand that what is the interest level of the industry to come forward. But to actually go to the industry, they need to understand that what is it that, what is really required. Yes. So that is the engagement which CI is focusing on.
because it can define or,
Yes.
work on perspectives that you can show them in what areas they will contribute and how they can do so meaningfully.
Exactly.
Okay, very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next, please.
Okay, I'm Subir Shukla. I'm a former national level badminton player. I got into education. Right after I left college, I lived and worked in the tribal area. And every child that I looked at looked like a potential champion to me. So, integrating education and sports has always been a really important aspect. I feel CSR can lend a lot of legitimacy to sports. Very often in education circles, sports are looked down at.
Right, legitimacy. All right, how so?
Just by valuing and supporting and funding things. So one particular effort I want to mention right now as an example of what is possible. Recently we developed the curriculum, syllabus and textbooks for the state of Rajasthan, which has just gone to 40,000 schools. What we tried to do was to increase the amount of time given for sports and physical activity to 15% of the overall curricular time. It never used to even exist or get 15%, and it's a lot. More than that, I think as Nikhil also pointed out, we've tried to integrate activity across all subjects in many different ways. For example, use a mobile phone as a stopwatch. Measure your heartbeat for 30 seconds and run, come back, measure again. So there are all kinds of interesting things which are there in the textbooks which children get to do, to try out, and so on. And that is now rolling out, and we'll be training 1.5 lakh teachers as well. So, to my mind, and these are a series of suggestions, it's not so much about policy, it's more about the detail, I guess. But one, I think if CSR is going to support these kind of things, then increasing time becomes more justifiable because then we have things to do, we have facilities, we have possibilities of doing that. Organizations can be involved in training, like we are education people, we may not be able to train teachers the way that all of you others can. One thing that will help, I'm happy to hear that you've been working on measurement, but if we can get process metrics, like if I say that a school has children who are physically active and engaged in sports, what will it look like? How do I measure it that it's happening? I get a sense of that. So in India, we now already have performance indicators and standards for performance for teachers. We already have that, and there's a process of rolling it out, and there is a process of rating schools on many such factors beginning. So that's an area to get involved with. Parental education, I think, really would help. So any effort in that is supported. We have school construction standards, but they do not include facilities for sports. So if the job so I said that we have school construction standards, but they do not necessarily include facilities for sports. There are countries where a school cannot be called a school unless it has a field, a gym, or whatever.
That's not true for the school construction center?
No, we don't have any such mandated thing. In fact,
Yes, there are boards though who mandated post-fact that you can't be CBSE school unless you have playground inside.
yes, but on ground what you will find is that in smaller places where there was a school with a ground, when a new building was made, it was made in such a way that the ground was eaten up. So, and you have heard of this. You heard of this thing called the building as learning aid, that Bala is an approach, right? So there are so many small things I can even, pull up bars or whatever in the building in such a way that the whole building can make the scope for a lot more activity, and it will also address issues like, areas where there are no facilities. There's a lot that can be said on targeting specifically girls. There's so much to be done in that area. We also have residential schools like AGVVs, PMC schools, and so on. So many of those should become hubs. It would really be very good if schools are able to come out as a hub for sports facilities that can be accessed by communities all around. But they are not occupied 24 hours. The schools are there 8 hours. So that's where a CSR project would really make a lot of difference. Again, on measurement, we do not have a fitness index for the Indian child. That's something which, we have surveys of students' learning level. We can tell you exactly how much below their age level expectation they are on reading. But how much below they are on, say, physical activity.
Standards of nutrition.
Nutrition, yes.
There's nothing on fitness.
On fitness, we don't. I mean, would you expect, how many squats should a 10-year-old boy be able to do? We don't know. If you don't measure, if you don't care. I think it's important to now move beyond that. And I'm happy also that we have a sports psychologist. So I've written down that we need to research on a lot of things, including impact of sports and mental health aspects. So that's now becoming a big issue. It was never there so much earlier. But also, all governments move by making annual work plans and budgets. But how do you budget for something like sports to happen in a state, the government system, or we have large-scale national programs like Samagra Shiksha, and we make annual work plans every year. But how do we budget sports into it? One part is, of course, lobbying for it to be budgeted in the first place. But the other is, if you do, then what is the process? How do you prioritize? If you have limited amount, where do you spend it? Like if you could only train people, or if you create facilities, which is the better one to do? We don't know. So I think it will be very good if this community is able to engage with those who actually allocate funds and make plans all the way at the national, state, and district levels. Thank you.
So with your permission, I can update our user. Sure. We are trying to speak there has been actually a meeting at minister level, both ministers in attendance, between education and sports. So we're trying to align with NEP 2020 big time. So whatever you are saying, there is already action at hand, and I'm sure education ministry is very positive, and regarding PE teachers and even funding also to a certain level. But as of now, I cannot either disclose or give out any figures exactly. But rest be assured, it has already happened, and it was very fruitful and a long one. And now there are many other, like we are carrying the process forward. So there is an integration happening, and there is a lot of thought and the importance of PE teachers at school level, and also making sure that the kids just play, they get time to play. Yeah. And also there is a thought regarding ensuring that each school has access to a playground. It's not just a building, so that thought process is also in motion. Regarding the perspective of 1 year, we are now, whatever we are at least at ministry and side, we are looking at 10 years. We are not looking at 1 year in isolation. Minimum block we look at is 4 years, but now we are looking at 10-year period. Whatever we are, whichever plan we are making, we are minimum looking at 10-year period. So that is one. No, CSR is already doing a good job. We have, that is why I made an appeal being your talks and representing SAI. No, I'm not. If government bodies are not accepting CSR funds. No, we are
the school level. The idea is that CSR should not go to government bodies. It should go to implementing. It should go to foundation.
And another thing
CSR is not meant to fund government. Yeah. That's the last thing that CSR should do. But SCI and all things help us use their facility. Even when we do foundations, help out with granting scholarships and all that, the students who are taking coaching in SAI, the scholarships can go to them.
So we have a scheme called Khelo India, sir. In that we have something called Khelo India Athletes. And very large chunk, and we are giving them, in addition to everything free, they are also getting 10,000 per month monetary. It's kind of a scholarship. We are so we are. I mean, a huge effort is underway for that also.
Okay, thank you.
Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Suhail Tandon. I'm the founder of an organization called Sport Development. An objective is to basically create an ecosystem where sport, physical activity and play are used for the holistic development of young people. And we do that through implementing programs on the ground, training facilitators. We're also working with organizations and aspects of research, advocacy, knowledge resource development, etc. I think all points have been valid, and I know a lot of people in the room. We've been talking about things over many years. I think one thing, sir, that you said was very pertinent, how you framed sport in Schedule 7. Not to benefit like sports that are already getting funded. So my idea was, can we look at reframing sports in the schedule using terms like sport for all, even physical activity, physical literacy, physical education. I mean, if we don't get every young person in India to play sports, then how do we build on our vision of becoming a sporting nation? Whether it's medals at the Olympics, whether it's better health and well-being, etc., etc. And I think a lot of us in this room are privileged to have had played sport and been part of physical education. We still work with young people, children in schools who don't have any access to sport, physical education, facilities, even teachers or coaches. So I think reframing that would sort of, maybe help CSR decide to put funds into, more physical activity, physical literacy, physical education.
Where are you getting your funding from?
It's mostly private individual donors, institutional grants, some CSR, but not very, active in that field. The second point, I think, what has been mentioned is the focus has been on measurement and impact, but what would that look like? It's easy to measure winning medals, but not everyone in CSR, in sports, is doing that or should do that. Colonel Johal mentioned, I'm going to quote you, sports um, helps inequality, inclusion, fair play, respect, teamwork. How do we measure that? Now that is a trickier part to measure of sports, health and well-being. I mean, you could do 100 crunches or sit-ups, but is it leading to better health and well-being in your everyday life? How do we measure those things? So having a framework for that, I know some people in the sport for all sector in India are working towards that, but it should not be just either physical fitness or achievement in sport. It should move beyond that, in my view. And then research and advocacy. I think most people in this room have been part of sport, have played sport, and we've experienced sport. So we can confidently say it leads to X, Y, Z. But is there any academic research into the field? Most of our research metrics are coming from Europe, North America, but there's not enough contextual research into how sports actually helps young people in India. And then can we leverage that to advocate for sports and advocate at all levels? For example, we work with children who are first generation learners in their family. So the first question parents ask is, we're sending kids to school to study, why are you making them play sport? So we have to counter that saying sport is education. But there's a lot of effort our team undertakes in working with parents, sensitizing them, sensitizing school teachers. 2 hours of play, even in a week where there are exams, is not going to lead to catastrophic failures of young people. So I think advocating at all levels, starting from parents, teachers, but also implementing organizations, CSR. I think also it has to be a collective effort, governments as well. No one stakeholder can do it themselves. So that's all I would like to add. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning everyone. Good morning, sir. I'm Nishita. I am from ZS Associates. That's a management consulting and technology firm. We basically transform ideas into impact by bringing data, science, technology, and human ingenuity for better outcomes for all. Yeah. So majorly, we've been working into health, education, livelihood. Yeah. So these are the areas that we've been working on. So today, why I am here, because I also wanted to explore why sports into our company, why should we be really investing in? And given there is of course an integration that is visible with health and education, so we wanted to know more. But there are few questions like maybe, because I've been hearing from all of the people that, there is a need and we need funds, we need CSR funds, but do we have a target? What would the target is, how many funds we need, how much? And then maybe what is the path ahead, 5 years path, or 10 years path? Has that been defined already? And if we are really thinking of, and which is really much needed, spending on the sports, then do we really think, few people have already said that, like Colonel also said about Gurdwara, the Seva, he had said that. But have we also seen what it used to be in the ancient times? Why not linkages to that? In Gurdwara, there is still talwar bazi, which kids learn. There used to be a tir kaman, yeah, so that was all sports. And given the martial arts, it used to be there. The princes used to learn that, and everybody in the society. And given there is a lot of pressure now these days, in fact, when I was in a school, I was really lover of basketball, but then there was a lot of pressure on me, study, 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 all on the books and the cramming stuff. Yeah, so it was there. And when I see my cousin, there are a lot of people who might be, I know about Reserve and Mudit, that they really love playing squash. And one of my cousins, he also plays squash. When he goes into the club, there are all 50 plus people and him. He's the only one, like, who is like just 29 and 30 years. Why so? So I think there are a lot of awareness which is needed, and the importance which we really need to make people aware of. And there are a few pointers that was in my mind, maybe I can speak on a little bit. So can we also, given the situation in the world that we see, and we never know what is there in, what will be there in India too. So do you think that linking sports, it is very important on the defense side of it? Everybody should learn that, where, you know, mental health also gets strong, and then I'm also making people Atmanirbhar on that, so that if any situation arises, we should be able to really fight for it. There are a few countries who are already working on it. You know, this would help sharpen mental toughness. We have a sports psychologist. We have Harleen also, who's a psychologist over here. Ability, it also increases, you know, to handle pressure. And nowadays, people are not really able to handle pressure. There are suicidal cases as well, which is increasing. It also makes people disciplined, as Nikhil sir already said that. And I'm not sure, but maybe, you know, a few ideas that that maybe I can put, because I was really pondering on it. So why don't we think and make a mandate for, like, for every corporate, the sponsored females to also make them learn martial arts? Can we have that mandate? I'm not really sure though. I know it is a tricky question though, yeah. And then there were a few more, like if there are any remaining funds after December, then maybe we can really think of, you know, putting in sports or heritage, where it is really less percentage of CSR funding is spent on. And you might have also seen, there's one more thing. I'm sorry, I'm taking a lot of time, but you know, you've seen already on the states that, you know, generally government welcome corporates, the other companies also to be there. So maybe likewise, if any corporate spends 10% on CSR, would that be considered at 12.5%? Yeah. Yeah, if any corporate spends like 10%, could that be considered as a 12% or 12.5%? No, yeah. So that was just you know, an example. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. I'm Mandeep. I am the Chief of Strategy and Operations for the All India Football Federation. Firstly, I would like to welcome everybody. Thank you. I think this is a very, very good initiative that we're having today. Just briefly, I think what I'd like to do first is probably just set some context with regards to how the ecosystem is and why this is important. I'll really make 3 points, and then I think I could probably give you a couple of pointer suggestions where I think the impact can be maximized. In general, I think firstly the biggest issue we face in our country right now with regards to sports is it's seen as a pursuit of glory versus maybe a social initiative or a public health initiative in a broader perspective. Now, when, for example, in team sport like football, the development of the game is based on the strength of the ecosystem, not an individual athlete. Like I can take an individual athlete in discipline, plug them on, send them to an environment where they have an elite academy, and they'll excel. In a game like football, the moment you get to the age of 12, 13, so you're on the side, in a 90-minute game, you get in the ball for about 80 seconds. The rest of it is just about a high mentality. My coordination with my teammates, running off the ball, all of this. Very tactical sport. So to really excel and get to a point where we have a 1983 moment where there's some sort of national glory we're getting and the money trickles in it's much more difficult than individual discipline. So this is the first problem. Now, obviously, me being an NSF, I'm slightly biased towards the development of the game because, in general, there can be two broad aspects we can look at with regards to what's the role of NSF. One is adoption, the second is excellence. Now, why adoption? Because the broader the base of the pyramid, the higher the pyramid can get. And in general, even if a fraction of it make it as an elite sportsman, someone who's been involved in a game for a certain number of years will A, follow the game, B, be an ambassador of the game, 3, be a consumer of the game going forward. So automatically rejuvenating the entire ecosystem. Excellence, of course, is what happens at the age of 12, 13, 14. So there's competition structures and eventually there's a national team at the top of it. Now, what are the challenges in this entire space? I think there's a lack of consolidation in general. Like, there's a lack of consolidation. There's a lot of work happening, but it's happening in silos. You have a lot of private players doing a lot of work across the country. For example, a corporate is doing something based on where their industry is or the catchment area is. Because it becomes an initiative where they want to reach out to the people and be shown as someone who's making a change versus investing in the big picture. So there's no consolidation. I think this is across sports at this point. Now, what is the main factors that are coming in the development of an athlete? A is training, B is competition. And this is across the board. This starts at the age of 6, 7, maybe higher grade of training at 6, 7, less competition. The higher you get, the more competition is required. The public perception in general, I think, is that sports like, for example, football and hockey, because of the mass appeal, there's a lot of money there and it's not required, which I think is a bit far from reality what's happening. And I think my colleague Anuj here is running an academy. I think he mentioned that. But to run the entire ecosystem, you probably have multiple players running academies, but then they have to go and play against each other. So there's an entire operational cost of the ecosystem that actually is tough. And I'm not just talking football, I'm saying football, hockey, a lot of team sports, because you have to find another team to go and play. And at a level which they excel, it maybe implies interstate travel sometimes. Okay, that's said and done. I think from a pointed perspective, where can the impact be absolutely maximized? I think the first thing is the adoption of a curriculum or formal football education or any sport education at a primary school. I think that's where the gap is. We have it in secondary schools. In primary schools right now, there's no mandated PE teachers across the country because there's no facilities. So I think if we find a way of adopting sports as a way of learning in primary schools, that's one. Number two is public infrastructure. I grew up in Bengal. We had grounds for football, volleyball around us. We grew up in the environment playing. We saw seniors in my locality play, we played. Right now, if you look in Delhi or Bombay or Bangalore, for example, there's an entire turf culture happening. So there's a barrier to entry. It's not like, if you look at parks, if you walk out, most of the parks have benches and trees. It's almost hostile architecture that's built. Yeah. 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 So I think public
Sports is so broad, we can sit here and the cars come home. But just very quickly,
Yeah.
what can CSR do?
Yeah. So the second is public infrastructure investment in rural areas. And third is if there's a way we can incentivize adoption of teams, academies, or operational expenses with regards to excellence, pursuit of excellence. Age of 13, 14, 15.
You're sending signals to the person on your right, he's asking what should a corporate do?
Yeah.
And principally we need to answer, if you want to do sports, what should a corporate do? And this is what Cassie was going to ask us next.
Yeah.
Right. So let's go over to Cassie and let's hear what you have to say.
Hello everyone. My name is Gurveet and I head legal for Casio and also take care of the CSR portfolio. I'm also accompanied by our director, Mr. Akira Obanate. So Casio, as you know, is popularly known for its watches, calculators, pianos, and all of those things. Now I'll quickly share a corporate perspective on CSR. essentially, when we look for projects, it's always a mix of 4 factors, which is impact, compliance, sustainability, and the 4th one is transparency. So definitely, the more transparency you get into this whole ecosystem, the more conducive you make it for the corporates, the more open and the more flexible they become in terms of picking up the right areas. I'll also share an interesting fact that we started off this project of Sports for Change, just like HCL, in the year 2023, alongside Sports Village Foundation. We partnered with Sports Village Foundation, and we have a portfolio of 4 or 5 different CSR projects, and we give the maximum funding to sports. So perhaps the statistics which was being discussed in this forum.
Give us some numbers here.
So it's about 1 CR that we fund every year for the Sports for Change program in sports. Yes.
You have a 1 crore program for sports.
Yes, which is about 50% of our CSR budget.
You have a 2 crore budget overall.
Roughly.
Half you spend on sports.
Yes. So we try and perhaps improve the statistics of the notion of sports being.
How do you spend this money?
So we've been funding. Basically, we have a program of Sports for Change, just like HCL. So we do the grassroots program where we have an outreach of 4,000 students. So there are basically 20 government schools in the area of Noida, which we have
also adopt a school's approach.
Yes.
You go to government schools.
Yes.
Specifically in Noida.
Yes, that's true.
All right.
And then parallelly, there is a program of Sports for Excellence. So there are 4 sports development centers. We also invest in infra development in these schools so as to
4
sports development centers among the 20 schools that we've adopted.
And you have chosen 4 of those schools
to be the center of excellence. Yeah.
And you give additional money to them for becoming
no, so currently the overall budget that I just mentioned is utilized across different areas of grassroots as well as sports development centers. So it's kind of allocated within that budget.
Oh, I understand that. But for the centers of excellence, they have a specific budget.
Yeah, so that budget will be earmarked out of the overall budget that we plan for sports.
The limit of 1 crore, within that to do.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. And who executes these programs for you? Like if you identify a school and you identify a sport, and what is the content of it?
So basically, there is a curriculum developed by Sports Village Foundation where Sports Village Foundation, SVF. Yeah. So they are our friendship partners. Yes.
We work only them. We don't have any other.
No, we don't have.
Okay. So you fund this entire program with them.
Yes.
Okay. And you are registered as a society, a non-profit.
Section 8.
Section 8.
Good. Of course. Now, I just, with your permission, touch upon a point of, where there's a usual notion of corporates trying to, cling on to the fancy of what's in it for the brand, the ROI model, So, being very blunt and honest is that whenever a brand comes in, it will look for the natural brand synergy. Since we are not primarily directly into the sports area, still for us, sports made a lot of sense and meaning, because when we look at other areas, of course, there will be hard-pressed issues which might take a seat of priority in terms of the need assessment if we do that. But then when we look at sports, yes, definitely it remains underserved. We look at education. There are a lot of corporates doing a lot of stuff. We look at poverty.
Casio, and I think there's a natural relationship, because when you look at Omega, yes, when you look at Rolex, they are into time. And a lot of sports is sponsored by timing companies. Wimbledon is about Rolex. The French is about Omega. So each of the airports, you've taken them over because there's timing involved. So in a sense, for Casio also, because there's so much into watches and timing and so on, it makes sense to also be in measurement. And sports is the one arena where measurement is literally the way it's run. So yeah, it does make sense. But I'm really happy you spent 50% on sports. So you're a model.
Just bettering the statistics.
Like amazing model of organization. उसका 50 का आप 0 भी हटा के 5 पे भी चला जाए
We'll bring up it. We'll go back.
Yes. So
we'll break
for
tea.
tea. We'll break for 10 minutes for tea. So there are 3-4 people more that came in. You want to finish it first? So let's quickly have Asim, over to you first. We've covered this side now. Asim has just come, so you know Asim from Cadence. Asim,
Good morning, everyone. My name is Asim, and I work with Cadence Design Systems. It's a semiconductor company, and my hands are shivering because I'm sharing the table with Bhaskar sir and Nikhil sir. It's a privilege to share the likes of them, and also should be a very active person in the domain. So I might falter a bit, but please excuse me for that. What I would like to start with is what we have tried to start, or recently what we have identified is the momentum around STEM. And why, when we are talking about science, we are only talking about physics, chemistry, and biology. Why not sports science? So then, the momentum, CSR is all about, I tell you, it's about building momentum. It's not about sustainability, और funds आते रहें और काम होता रहे. गुरु आपकी कृपा से सब काम हो रहा है, ऐसा नहीं. It's about drawing the attention of the society towards the things they have been missing out on. That is how I look at CSR. So what we have done is, in our schools, in our NGO run schools, we have asked them, can we have self-defense classes for our female students? And what are the boys there want to play, what are their sports inclination towards? So I would request the corporates and the NGOs to broaden their horizon when they talk about STEM and integrate it with sports science. Okay? Secondly, when I, as a corporate, somebody was sharing abhi isse pehle how do they feel when they work as a corporate in CSR. I feel like a Chitragupta over there. Okay? 28 states, 8 union territories, 50 लाख वहाँ देते हैं, 20 लाख वहाँ देते हैं. कर्नाटका में दिया तो कहेंगे नॉर्थ कर्नाटका में दिया, साउथ में नहीं दिया. अभी दिल्ली एनसीआर में दिया तो उन्होंने कहा कि दिल्ली एनसीआर की पेरिफेरी में नहीं दिया. ऑपोजिट में मैम बैठी, उन्होंने कहा कश्मीर में नहीं दिया, केरला में नहीं दिया. ऐसा नहीं होगा. इट्स अ बिग कंट्री. करेक्ट मी इफ आई एम रॉन्ग. देयर आर नॉट इतने भी फंड्स नहीं है जितने हमने सोच रखे हैं. तो हम क्या वो एनजीओ जिनको थोड़े बहुत फंड मिल गए, अगर आप 1% और 2% की बात करें, 35,000 का 1% है, वो क्या कम है? 350 करोड़ क्या कम है मोमेंटम शिफ्ट करने के लिए? अगर आपको कम लगता है तो आप 2014 से पहले के एनजीओ देखें वो कैसे काम कर रहे हैं. So when NGOs, for God's sake, please, whenever you are talking about CSR, also talk about the things that are happening. Whenever I go to forums, NGOs speak, they say ये नहीं हो रहा, कुछ तो हो भी रहा होगा. तो वो भी अगर आ जाए तो हम दोनों थोड़ा सा कंपैरेटिव एनालिसिस कर लें तो बेहतर हो जाएगा. Thank you so much. We can break for tea.
Thank you so much. A couple of more people here. The lady here, both the ladies. Yes.
Sorry for being late. Thanks for having me. My name is Yoon Song Kim, and I'm the Chief of Social and Human Sciences at UNESCO South Asia Regional Office. We work across different countries, including India. To briefly give you an idea of the work we do, we don't work on sports excellence. We work on sports for development, basically investing on creating a safe sports ecosystem with multiple stakeholders. And what does that mean? So concretely, what we're doing right now in India, we have 3 projects. One is we're working with the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Youth and Sports to promote sports values through sports. And through a 2-year-long research, we've identified 3 values which are critical to sports: equity, inclusion, and respect. And we have developed sports activities to teach these values to kids, younger kids from 8 to 12, through fun activities and sports. And what we've done is taken the global toolkit, which has been piloted in different countries, and contextualized it for India. So having, of course, translation, but references to Indian cultural issues, and then making sure that Indian games like Kabaddi, Kho-Kho, all of these are integrated. So thankfully that has been taken up by both ministries, and it's been translated. It will be translated into all 13 languages under the Ministry of Education.
and will be deployed on the teacher training website and will be launched soon. Fortunately, we've also received additional funding for this from Himachal Pradesh government because they were very interested to implement this at the state level. So we're currently working with Himachal Pradesh to roll out the sports values education through teachers there. Secondly, what we're doing is focusing on creating a safe sports environment for women and girls. This is at the core of UNESCO's values, and we see there's a lot of potential for this in India, especially in terms of sending a female World Cup team, but also the Olympics. So without a safe environment for girls to play in, we personally believe that it's going to be a very difficult pitch. So what are we doing? We're doing safeguarding trainings with administrators, coaches, teachers, parents, and students. And currently we're exploring opportunities with AIFF to begin with, but we think there's opportunities to roll this out in different contexts. We're currently talking to Nike about the safeguarding training modules, and hopefully we'll be able to get some funding to roll this out in India. Last but not least, I think the gentleman spoke about evaluation and data collection in sports, which is absolutely important. We completely agree. So the third component is on research, is how do you measure the social impacts of sports? We all know that sports go beyond just physical health, mental health, education, social inclusion, gender equality. But it's been difficult in the sports ecosystem to collect data and create a framework where you can actually measure this. So what we're doing right now with Victoria University in Australia, UNESCO, and our local partner is Kalinga Institute in Odisha, we're creating a framework that can collect and assess the social impact of sports across health, education, social cohesion, and gender equality. And we've collected data across 1,000 students currently through our partners, who a lot of them sit here, Sports Village, a lot of the partners, thanks to them, we've collected data across the country, and hopefully by the end of this year, we'll have a report that not only includes the framework, the data points, the surveys, and finally the results on how sports is actually leading to these social impacts. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we'll break for tea and we'll be back in 10 minutes because we will.
But here I am speaking as a parent.
Yes, oh, yes. So in fact, before she says her daughter is a state, Surbi's daughter is a state level athlete. National, sorry, national level.
And
you can put on the right.
Yeah. So my daughter goes for, she has been playing since last 3-4 years, and yes, she is privileged. She is in one of the best schools of the country, and we can afford her education and her sports. But to be very honest with all of you, beyond a point, it's very difficult for us also to support her for sports, because when she goes to be Hyderabad, Bangalore, 5 days event, 6 days event, you know, she needs a coach, she needs a physiotherapist, nutrition, and all of that has to be taken care of. And when we go there, honestly, she is humbled, and she says that I have so much with me, and look at the other kids, and they're so talented. I don't know how many of us are aware that from tomorrow we have para-athletic world championship here in Delhi. So if we look into this, the awareness part of it, and so as parent, I feel a lot of time people ask me, अच्छा nationals खेल रही है, आगे क्या करना है? College में कौन से college जाएगी? You know, so that's a big challenge. Where is she going to be? And how is she going to study there? So anyways, coming back to the same thing, number one, as parents, is very important. The mental health we are talking about, awareness we are talking about, because it's very important to convince the parents कि भाई भेजो, and it's actually one of the, it's not only the education, हर कोई लिख पढ़ नहीं सकता, सबके 100% नहीं आ सकते. हमारे देश में आज, we all know and deal with you, don't score 98, 99, आपको admission ही नहीं मिलेगा. Second option क्या है हमारे पास? और sports में sustainability is most important thing I think about, because when I go there, I see the children, our national records on athletics at 100 meters, if you see to it. I saw last time when I was in SG5, between 10.2 to 11 seconds, there were 8 boys. There were 8 boys, you know, and all of them had the caliber to go to the international level and play there, but coaches nahi hai, support nahi hai. I'm sorry sir, for SGFI also women, girls के लिए toilets nahi hai. खाना नहीं है, they didn't have food. She played from morning 7:30 to night. I had protein bar with me. There was no food for them. So when corporates are saying कि कहाँ करें, कैसे करें, measurable output, I think those PPP models are very important. जहाँ sports authorities को actually ज़रूरत है corporates की भी और NGOs की भी. NGO in identifying the talent and corporate in funding those events. हम identify करके national level पे पहुँच के भी we are not able to support them. So as parent, my submission here is I request everybody at a policy level, at a corporate level, at an NGO level, कि 3 साल 4 साल का medal is not important, sustainability is important. How the kid you are identifying at a primary level, at a mid level, in a school level, how are they going to proceed further? Career is very short term in sports. Future क्या है? That is something in the next session I would like all of you to deliberate on. Thank you.
Thank you, Survi. And let's break for tea. I think let's go down. The restrooms are just across, and we go down. Parminder, we go to that place. We have to go down and outside to the left.
Get started very, very quick. Okay, let's get started, please. Requesting all to please take your seats. Can we have people from outside also? Can you just call everybody, please? Let's not waste time. Mudit, if you can just ask everyone. So we, I think, have covered everybody. I think, Parvinder, everybody has spoken.
Now we'll do a sort of collation of all.
So one, I think the key host Parvinder is still left. So I think you will speak.
No, he's not.
You right? So let's have Sir now.
Yeah, so now let's try to find out what does it mean at the
To
end.
nail the coffin, sir.
Everybody has a space.
All of you, please come in.
And
Any people are at the gate. Quick, quick, quick.
You come in and shut the doors.
Everybody come in. Surbi, just come in quickly, and we'll shut the door. Come, quick. I think a few more from the HCL team, but HCL has already spoken, so no worries.
No,
yes. So over to Dr. Chatterjee for his views basis. I think so. You've heard everyone. Over to you now.
So, this is the toughest call of all. So thank you, Nikhil, for giving us this opportunity. Let me say without hesitation that there are currently, I think, 14 or 15 items in Schedule 7. And a small part of one of them is rural sports. That's it. So the CSR dispensation right now does not address sports in any comprehensive manner. It's pretty much left to corporates to do what they want in any way that they want to do it, if at all they are interested. Yeah, so they've liberalized it now for a little bit of coaching and international coaching. Yeah, so what they're saying now is training to promote rural sports. We have said rural sports, really good training are not talking about this. Nationally recognized sports, is there a list?
I think there will be a list.
So even Coco and Kabaddi, and the UN lady came and spoke about that, which is fine. Paralympic sports and Olympic sports.
So these are all now permitted.
Yeah, which is fair enough. I mean, the older category cover all of this in any case. But if you say that the national sports covers cricket, 90% of sports funding goes into cricket anyway. So what we were trying to avoid can actually become a major trap. Anyway, let's forget that. More important for us is to first, it's very rarely that I have sat in any deliberation on any one item or any one theme, one single thematic of CSR. Very rarely does a deliberation happen on education in CSR or health in CSR, because if you sit on that, then of course you can deliberate the whole education. Education has a million things attached to it, more than even sports, and then health and so on and so forth. But it's useful to discover how many aspects of sport there actually are, and I discovered them today. And for the answer to the corporates is, what should you do? What part of sports should you enter? And you ask questions like, is there a measurable amount? How much do I really need? How much is the quantum of facilities required or amounts required? Simple answer is no limit. Even the US keeps complaining we don't have enough money for sports. So we will never have enough. We have to do with what we have and to do it as best as we can. But let's look at it. Sports. One, facilities. And for corporates, I'm looking at it from the point of view, let's say you're on the board of a corporate, and you're one of those 3 or 4 members of that board who want to do something for sports. What options do you have? What choices do you have? Money will always be limited. If Casio has 1 crore, it is possible that others may have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, whatever. But given that there are always limitations of funding, if we don't, CSR is about corporate funding, right? So the corporate has to fund, which means what? 3 people sitting in the board of a corporate have to take that decision, fund or not fund. And those 3 people are under enormous pressure from every other discipline to fund. So education, skill development, health, these are the standard things which every single corporate does without exception. If it now wants to include sport and say, all right, out of our budget, let's give 2%, 3%, 4%, nobody gives 50. Let's say even 10%, somebody says. Then what? With that 10%, what should we do in sports? And we have to have some kind of an answer, because even here I see, look at it, one of the ways. One, facility. Should we build a stadium? In Vedanta and in Hindustan Zinc, whose board I sat on, we took a decision. And we spent 140 crores over 5 years in creating the Jaipur Stadium. Now, it was spent over 5 years, it's a project. But it was a conscious decision that we will in sports do only one thing, which is to create a facility. We will do nothing else. Decision the board took. And we said, this facility will have attendant facilities so that all of the catchment area, the students who come, the children who participate, the scholarships that we give, the coaching, everything would be integrated into that facility. So that is one approach the corporate took. Second, forget about facilities. Let's invest only in training. And that is recognized here now in Schedule 7. That we will do only training and coaching and nothing else. We spot talent. We give to that talent, male, female, or third gender, everything that that talent requires. Build that nascent talent into an Olympian. And we will take, because money is limited, we will take 10 talents in 4 sports and support that talent till the end. A choice. Somewhere in the board, the choice needs to be made, because funds will never be enough to go across all of it. Third, there are now in India or across the world, two types of sports. One, competitive. I compete against others because I have talent, others also have talent. Mine is a competitive sport. I compete and I get to a result. I make a team or I make a landmark in terms of time. But there's also participative sport, marathons that you run, because the spirit of sport, run for a cause, which Vedanta does, which is supports no person should go hungry to bed. So they run for hunger. And that's a value that you promote. This is called participative sport. And a lot of corporates, like in Vedanta, we say we want to encourage participative sport because it covers a large section of human beings of all ages. So there are running for NGOs, running for athletes, running for senior citizens, but all are running for a cause. And they're not running because they want to come first. They're there because it is a value they wish to promote and something that they want to do. All of sports psychology is a major, major item today. Any great athlete or sports person needs the mental toughness, because in the end, those 20, 30, 40 people who are competing for the one gold medal are equals. They are equally trained, equally talented, equally capable. But the mental toughness on that day, at that event, to turn out and run at your best, if you don't have the mental toughness, you're not going to make it. So psychology, the support that mental strength gives to you, is the essence of a performer in sports. Along with that, sports medicine. Think of how much help an athlete needs. The first thing that happens in a match after 10 or 15 minutes, physio comes because the ball has hit somebody's finger. Without the physio, without sports medicine, without sports injuries, think of how long Rishabh Pant went off and how he came back, because the best of sports medicine was available to him because the Indian Cricket Council is the richest in the world. We could afford it, but we got him back. So sports medicine is another great choice. Research. Any field dies if there is no research. Most of the great athletic nations like China or Japan or the US do enormous amounts of research in sports disciplines. That's why they know that in this sport, this is what you need to succeed. Should we fund sports research? Is something that a corporate also has a choice to do. And you might say that we're not in this about the competition and the medals. We want to support the support system so that it is an enabler, not necessarily a result-oriented one. Advocacy, awareness, understanding of what sports can do to our school children. We spoke about curriculum, we spoke about grounds, we spoke about facilities, we spoke about physical education instructors. So should we just improve the education, the sports environment for our children? Values. And lady from UNESCO spoke so passionately about just the promotion of sports values. And she identified 3 of them, all of them absolutely incredibly, because somewhere all of us have to be sporting the nature. We are sporting by nature. Why not? Are you a sport? Which doesn't mean that you're a sports person, but are you a good sport? What does that mean? It conveys a culture, it conveys a value, it conveys a meaning. Should we just sports for betterment? Should we promote the cause of sports? So if you look at sports generally, there are many aspects of it that a corporate has a choice. And you may feel that the cost to the CSR budget is less for, let's say, advocacy or research or mental health. If you want to do facility, it's huge monies. If you want to do scholarships, it's also huge monies. And how many scholarships you want to give? If you want to sponsor an entire marathon, it's big money. So depending on your budget, you tick that box where you feel concentrated. The other thing that came up was sustainability. If you are promoting something, stay at it for a while. If you're into values, you're not going to do values in 1 year. You need to stay with that, like they have stayed. Casio has stayed. It believes that this is the school, this is what we need to promote, this is what we need to do. We will stay in this line for some time till we see measurable, impactful results. And to my mind, whatever aspect of sports that the board looks at, stay in that. Surabhi spoke very passionately, and Nildeep and I were talking at tea time. The talent needs nurturing. Nurturing needs money at that age when the talent has to come to fruition. So adoption, a term that Nildeep used, can you adopt a talent or several talents and give it everything you've got? So Surabhi's child, if it is a talent that you identify and say, everything that that child needs, we will provide for 10 years or 5 years or 6 years, till that talent finds some space in which to shine. Let's even take what we now call esports. And amazingly, I realized that in chess, of which I play a lot, the kind of coaching and psychological training that a chess player needs is incredible. But companies are now, particularly e-companies, are supporting the Pragyanandas of the world, the Arjun Erigaisis of the world, to become world champions. Because at age 6 or 7, they stood by that talent till they were able to take out the Carlsens of the world, to take out the Nakamuras of the world. And they did that because you spot the talent and you nurture it. So you decide, I will take 5 talents, 1 badminton player, 1 table tennis player, 1 this, and give that person all the person needs: psychology, medicine, mental toughness, facility. I will give it all, but I will produce a winner. Your choice. And for the company and its board, depending on how much of the CSR budget they want to spend, it's a choice. I think now, and I'm seeing this because I sit on many CSR committees, I'm the chair of many CSR committees, I'm beginning to tell them that we've done health, we've done education, we've done skill development, we have done a lot of this for a long, long time. Let's look at art, culture, heritage, handicapped, sports. There are so many other things in Schedule 7 that are crying out for attention. So can we say that over the next 3 years, we will spend 10%, 7%, 8% of our CSR budget on sports? And if that sum is 5 crore or 10 crore, what in sports should we choose? Can we also find partnerships? I may have 5 crores, another corporate may have a similar interest. Can we pool the funding? Can we reach out to national organizations like SAI and say, okay, what part of it can we help you with? Where do you need? Nobody has enough money for everything. So what part of it can we partner with you? Slum development, rural development, education in those
difficult environments, let's make that a choice and say, okay, if nothing else, can we get in slums, sports development, in slums alone, and let's say identify 2 or 3. And let's do it there and find good organizations who are doing it and support them. What does HCL Foundation do? It finds implementing agencies with a good track record of doing something in that area in which they feel important and they can make a change. So, other end of the spectrum, don't even make a choice. Find good implementing agencies and they will tell you that if you give us just 4 lakhs or 5 lakhs for the first year, we can do this for you. Make that choice. So it is not for the corporate to necessarily have to be dictated by any specificity as to what is the need, what is the requirement. Those are endless. But we can tell corporates, even if you start small, think what part of sports you need to engage in. So here, let's look at it as a policy perspective and a corporate perspective, right? And then the implementation agency. Casio are lucky to have found Mr. Gill. And of course, there are several Mr. Gills around. But when you identify a good implementing agency, the partnership, the implementing agency itself tells you that if you have this budget, this is the best way to utilize it. I mean, I can suggest for your board to consider. So one way of going about it is find, can I do 2 or 3 things, not necessarily 1? And that's an option that could be open. Similarly for CII, for their CII foundation. They have these choices. Hopefully now it will become one of their mandated verticals, Sportz will. And when you do, and you talk to corporates, this is what you need to tell them, that there's a whole range of things that they can do. Let them make that choice. The last point I'd like to do is about hybrid funding, which I talked about in the beginning, which is mix and match. You don't have to do just one thing. So you can build a facility and then build the scholarships around it, talent spotting around it. Who should you encourage? What kind of teams should you bring? What kind of sports promotion values around that very facility that you have created? You can build everything around that facility. One thought that came to mind is when I look at the US sports system, everything in US sports is about universities, not about schools. All the talent spotters are university talent spotters. The university sports in the US are what feed the US system. All of US athletics, all of NBA, all of baseball is all universities and colleges. They come to the schools. The NBA spotter comes to the schools and identifies the talent. And once the spotter has identified you, they find the backing. Because university team, if you go and you make it, like you would have seen, Mudit went to a university, got spotted, and everything from there goes on. So it is, of course, about government schools because to some extent you bring it there. But in that age, you either make it when you're 16 or 17 or 18 or 19 or you don't. The bus has left. So where can we really energize our sports in the universities? There is no St. Stephen's College spotter. There is no Delhi University spotter. There is no Chennai University spotter because the university doesn't even know what spotting is. They don't go to any school. They don't spot any talent. The university system has no sports in it. You make a sports quota if you've been in school in some team. So everybody enters through the sports quota into the college, and then of course you do nothing else after that. Once you made the admission, you forget. But the United States is a shining example, and I think in Japan also they do that. They spot the baseball talent in school, and then the university level is so strong for tennis, for squash, for whatever level of sports. The university system is what really gets the talent to the top level. Every one of them. So somewhere, can we strengthen, because if you connect with Delhi University, they will tell you what they need. If as a corporate, I want to do something in sports, all I need to do is talk to the head of the sports department in Delhi University. And that person will tell you what you need, what is your budget. That's a good starting point, is all I feel. In India, we lack that university connect. So having been in sports for a long time and understanding exactly how things operate, what do we need, these are certain things I thought I'll share with you from the corporate point of view, and how when we do advocacy with corporates, let's say I'm in the board and I say, Nikhil, come to us one day and tell us, what should we do in sports? Now, I'm not going to call 10 people or 15 people or 20. I know Nikhil. So I call him. And I say to him, Nikhil, give me a menu. What should I do? This is my budget. You should then have these options open. And in your advocacy, prepare a PowerPoint. Tell a corporate, I want this to resonate with you. If a corporate were to reach out to you and say, Nikhil, tell me, what should I do? I have 12 of these choices that Dr. Chatterjee mentioned. What should I do? How would I prioritize? Where would I find satisfaction in what I do? Also, my board tells me I need to measure the impact that I create. I want to put money in sports psychology. Now tell me, what should I do? To whom should I give the money? And how would I measure its impact? Every corporate wants to know, I spent my money, what happened to it? What impact did I create? Who were the beneficiaries? How did it change their lives? Who can tell me? How will I do it? Research. You say, Nikhil, spend on research. Big deal. All right. I give you 30 lakhs this year. Start some research. How do I measure its impact? Needs, wants are everywhere. But for a corporate, needs and wants are related to causes, benefits, outcomes, all of that. We need to talk the corporate language. When you sit in a corporate board, if you do not speak the corporate language, you will not attract corporate funds. So what is the vocabulary we should use? How can we present them with something that will attract them? You can do operational expenditures. For whom? He was telling me that to organize a small league tournament, what's the cost? There are 10 teams playing. So, travel, food, funding, equipment, coaching for that league match. Where does it come from? Corporate can say, I will fund 10 leagues this year. Make it really good, man. And out of that league, what will I get? Tell me. If I sponsor 10 league matches in football across the country this year, what's the outcome and how can I measure it? And he will give me the parameters by which I can do that. Because if you don't support tournaments over a year, or 2 years or 3 years, from where will the talent shine? Where will I know there's a talent if there's no tournament? I can go to school and create a sports environment and fair enough. At the end, those children have to go to a tournament. They have to perform. They have to make a team. Those teams have to play. Why are things like Kabaddi League coming up in such a big way? Promoting values through Kabaddi and Kho-Kho is fine. It's also part of it. But if there's no Kabaddi League, where will you spot the talent? Who's to support that league? And the corporate will ask, if I support that league, how many talents are you going to produce for me in the Indian team or in the state team or in the district team? So, for the corporate, the way you project to them is vitally important. Even if you get their years, you have to be able to say, here is a menu of choices. We can help you to measure outcomes. And this is the way you can do it. These are good implementing agencies who can help you to formulate your policy. CSR policy, you know better than I, that when the CSR policy of a corporate is decided, very often the policy itself speaks of priority areas. The annual action plan that you make for CSR, the annual action plan is a part of the policy. Each year, the annual action plan changes. But the policy identifies the priority areas. Can we put sports there? Then in the annual action plan, you will get a budget for sports. So break it up into its smaller items, prioritize, provide alternatives to the corporate, and then give them the choices that they can make. I'll stop here.
No, this is quite wonderful, sir. And if you're okay, we can take 2-3 questions. Yeah, so any questions? Any Parvinder?
I need to run at 1, so we have 6 more minutes.
So we have 4 minutes for questions. 3.5, 4 minutes. I think Subir, you
can I just make a quick set of
very
suggestions?
Quick, crisp points.
One,
please.
what we need is a kind of note for corporates, a kind of how to note, like who may want to fund sports with a kind of menu of choices. There's no directory of good agencies working in sports. There's no framework that government or anyone has about the different dimensions that need to be funded, like the kind that Sir just mentioned. If there's some framework within it, then funding can be looked at. And lastly, I think again, drawing on the points just mentioned, a small guide is needed for anyone seeking funds for, these 4 very concrete outputs could actually, trigger a lot of things in the ecosystem.
Thank you so much. Anuj wants to say something. Sorry, you want to say? Yes, please.
So just to add to Sir's point, I am working with lawyers as a program and research officer. So Sir said very rightly that it is really important to showcase impact in language and in terms in which a corporate can understand what we are trying to say. And in that way, we have to be flexible. So recently, we've been trying to implement that into lawyers. We've done something called the social return on investment research. So just because we are trying to project, and initially we were, it was not a concept that was easily adopted by us. We bristled at the idea of, as people who work in social sector, we think that, oh, it's invaluable. ये तो हमने इतना अच्छा किया है कि आप इसको पैसे में कैसे तोल सकते हैं. But I think when I did that and when I went through the procedure, I came to realize while working on that research that it is important to talk in language which is understandable to people who are trying to fund you.
Yeah.
It is really important to say that if you are investing $1, I'm going to give you back this many dollars. So we said, we are going to give you back $13. So that's what came back for us, that for every dollar being invested, $13 is being generated in social capital.
Return.
And this is in context to Sports for Good City Delhi. If you are investing 1, we are giving back 13 to corporates.
Good,
So,
good, very, very useful.
I think that is a thing that we really need to learn, that flexibility and adopt ways in which research is being done and impact is being measured, which is understandable both to us and to corporates.
And this we did with collaboration of University of
South California, yes. So we had a third
They helped
party.
you do the research.
Yes,
Very
we had
nice.
a third party involved.
Excellent.
I think
yes.
He's a great example.
Yeah,
very
very
nice
good.
example.
No, very relevant. Thank you.
Very relevant. Yeah, exactly. We need to pool all of this. It's very nice.
Very useful. Anuj wants to say something.
Well, thank you, sir, for, enlightening all of us. I think that, the policies are there in terms of the documentations are there, in terms of overall structure is there. But when it comes to what happens on the ground level, I think in sports, and I only talk about football, ground level things are not the same what it is shown in the presentations. And that's where, I talk about infrastructure, which I think in India, there's a lot of infrastructure available for a footballer to become a player. We don't need lush green grounds. We can give an example of Brazil. We can give the whole South America example, Africa example. In terms of competition is where I think we lack a lot, especially from the ages of 6 to 12. Because right now, if you talk about school tournaments, earlier there used to be Limca, there used to be many more tournaments. But now we're only talking about CBSE National School Nationals and Subroto Cup, which starts at the age of under 15. But when you talk about Japan model, when you talk about European model or any developed football nation model, the model starts at under 6 level. And now the problem happens from here. If there are no competition, there is no motivation for children to go into the sport. Right. Now to make sure that the motivation is there, I definitely, when I go for CSR pitches, competition is one thing which I always like to pitch. And a lot of times they say that, in the CSR Schedule 7, does competition includes training? Is competition part of training? So a lot of times I get a yes because the person who is giving the grant, he himself used to play football. Yeah. So that becomes very personal, interpersonal, experience. But nevertheless, I just want to say one thing, sir, that if we can increase the number of competition at the grassroots level, a lot of the problems which happens later on will not happen, whether it is psychological, whether it is, all these parameters will be taken care by the time the child turns 14, 15.
Well, thank you so much, Anuj. I think we are now running out of time because we've hit 1 o'clock. I think, yeah, because very quick, so small memento, sir, from Parminder. Big round of applause for sir for giving us time. And sir had said about 1.5 hours, but he's actually stayed 2.5 hours. So I think so you've been a sport.
Yes. I think Nikhil will be back in a moment, and while so I think as we are getting to the close, it's 1 o'clock, and
So I'll just maybe just try to round up a little bit, and Nikhil can then close after that. So clearly there would be a detailed paper that we will take out after this session. We've taken notes, but I think one thing which I would like to mention, at least from my perspective, the idea of sport as a vertical and sport as a horizontal, there's a creative friction, creative tension in these two. Requires collaboration, requires right vocabulary, we spoke about that. Requires compliances, how do we measure what Suhail was saying. So I think it's easy to measure sport as a vertical, given that there are measurable skills and fitnesses which one can do, but difficult to do that in a classroom, difficult to do that in a non-structured setting. And how do we still measure that? We call it inner experience of a child or a young person. How do we measure that? That remains an open issue. And on the policy side, how does all of it get reported? Does it come under sports vertical, which is where it is counted right now, or does it come under education, early childhood development, or whatever else? So I think there has to be some consensus on that. But be that as it may, I think it, for us who are looking at the practice of sports, both are equally important, and both together will give us the cumulative outcome that we need from that. On the funding side, I think two thoughts came in. One was that how can we max existing funding that sports is getting already? And we don't have to, I mean, though the need is always higher. And so maxing that also requires a lot of collaborative effort, which is tough, given that all of us have nose to the ground and blinkers on. It is tough to execute when you're actually on ground, and very difficult to collaborate. In fact, I have often said that collaboration also requires funding. It is not on a voluntary basis you can go out and collaborate. It requires time, effort to do that. So there, research came up as a big item, which I think Suhail spoke earlier on. Very important, and especially CSR overlooks that part sometimes because of the transparency and compliance requirements, which are so important for CSR. The research sometimes has the opacity, which does not lend very well for the CSR funding. So that was another part which I thought was important. So we just spoke of creative friction between the sports vertical and horizontal, and how sum of all will lead to the sigma which we are most keen and interested in. So that was, I think, the core piece that from my
very important on the way back. I just spoke to Sir. So what we will also do is we'll prepare an outcome document out of this whole conversation. It's all been video recorded, and we'll prepare that along with Parminder's team. We will have, you can give more inputs as well if you want to give anything. I think you can reach out again, Parminder, from your side, and Sir would be happy to vet it. And then the idea could be to then take it to the ministry, to the MCA, to the sports ministry also. And see, because this is what needs to go up. Like, for example, you shared about the research, the SROI, and there were so many good suggestions. The purpose of doing such a closed roundtable was this, that everybody gets a voice. And you all feel fulfilled that when you go back, you've been heard. But now the main thing begins after this, that we compile it, and then we kind of get it vetted by the key policy maker that Dr. Chatterjee is himself. And he is very precise. So I have worked 5 years with him. And I have worked with him when the CSR law was being made. So I have worked with him till 2, 3 in the night, making those policy rules at the ministry. So he was making detailed notes and I was watching. So similarly, he was doing at that time, and he loves sports. So getting him here was not easy because he has a very busy schedule. In fact, he's a former Stephanian, and today they have some lunch for the alumni. So he said, Nikhil, maximum I'll try to make it 1 hour and 30 minutes. But he was here for 2.5 hours. And he messaged that I'm going to come, I'll come, but please get started. So he is very interested in sports. And I think, Parminder, what we should do as a team here, compile this, share it with him, get his more inputs, and then share it with corporates, maybe with CII as well, and the other demand aggregators in the industry, and also take it to other levels wherever we can use it as a good piece of information to inform the boards. Because eventually the MCA will also say that it is the decision of the corporates to decide, because this is shareholder money. But if the corporates see merit and they see outcomes and the measurement and the long-term thing, then they would want to spend more. I think somewhere we also need to do that groundwork, and I think this was the first step in that direction. And so thank you so much, and over to you, Parminder.
No, thank you for coming. Nothing more. So there is a memento each one of you might. So I think we do that, and thank you again for your valuable time.
And please take the ball with you. That's the return gift, and the idea should be that next time we are here, we should have more balls, meaning more funding in CSR. So every ball means funds.
And there is lunch served down below there. So please have that before you go.
So don't drop the catch, because catches win matches. Huh? So we have to learn to catch it also. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Parminder sir and Nikhil sir, if I can request you to hand over the mementos to the guests. Can we have Palashi, please, from Development Projects HCL to start with?
So we keep calling names, so please start coming in because we'll save time.
Prasenjit, you're next from the same project.
So Harleen, I think you should call them by the name of the certificate and not by your signature. Otherwise you're hunting.
I don't know the... Prasenjit Sengupta, please.
Came in a little bit late.
Group Manager, Development Projects HCL.
This is why I'm saying, because there'll be
Abhishek.
Because when you call by names and they're hunting.
I use the
So you pick up all of them. You pick up the phrase.
We don't know how many people are missing.
Doesn't matter. You call them by this. That is better. Yeah, I know. Now you have to hunt for Prasenjit.
I don't have it.
So you now sit down.
I can also do. No, we'll do it. We'll do it. Here, Prasenjit.
There you are.
अब तुम उसके हिसाब से कॉल
Siddharth Sehgal next, please. Siddharth, are you here? No. Okay. Poonam Dikshit, can we have you here? Poonam, are you here? Asim from Cadence. Perfect. Asim from Cadence. Subir Shukla, can we have you here next? Sir, please. Gurmeet from KCO. Hi, Gurmeet, can we have you here?
You made some good badminton smashes. And Rudy Hatuno and Lim Sui King used to be famous for that. I used to follow them.
Mr. Akira. You're next. Please come. Can we have Nildeep? Nildeep, please. Yusong Kim, please, can we have you here? Abhishek Nautiyal, you're next. Manu from HCL, can we have you here? Dr. Nanki Chadda. Renu Yadav, can we please have you here? Renu is next. Suhail Tandon, can we have you next here, please? Suhail, are you there? Anuj Gupta is next. Can we please have you here? Anuj is not here, I think. Ishita from ZS, please. Oh, I just announced. Ishita from ZS.
I will be giving that ball to a child. Oh, yes, yes, so that
Thank you so much, everybody. I think we'll break for a group photo and then move on to lunch. How do you? Downstairs. Okay. Group photo downstairs, please. We have a very nice banner we want to put all of you against and take a picture. Yes. And then we'll move on for lunch. I think carry the balls and your stuff because I don't think they're coming back to the room.